Let's see here. Yeah, staking is going to dry up and or get more competitive. So don't lose sight of the TITANX value over time. And this is a great comment because staking now is really, you can mine or you can stake, or you can play other games like you try trading and all sorts of stuff, if you want to go that route. But really within the system, there is the staking and the mining or holding, but really there's staking and mining. So if we break down the opportunities right now into staking and mining, really you're in two camps or three. You're either going to do a bit of both or one or the other, right? So right now though, because everyone only has those two or three choices really, this is obviously going to get saturated. Mining is going to get saturated. And I think mining will be saturated, pretty much always to a degree. Who knows about the shorter stuff? That's a whole other conversation. Because as the difficulty of the system increases in terms of acquiring TITANX, shorter mining is not necessarily going to be as lucrative depending on where the price is. And again, a lot more on this later because I know there's a lot of details that need to be added to glue this all together so that you can understand exactly what I'm saying here. But where I'm going with this is in the future, TITANX is going to get burnt in large quantities. Why? Well, we know that if we go over to the documentation and I bring you to the TITANX fundamentals, and we go down to actually, I believe it is where is it? Is it proof of burn? Go there. I can't remember where it is actually. I might have to scroll through here for a second. Let's see. I believe, under details, proof of burn. Where is it? Oh, that's because I need to scroll down a little further. Sorry about that. So, Hyper. We know that Hyper is coming. Hyper will be the first protocol to be built on top of TITANX. Confidential for now. But we know Hyper is coming. And Hyper, as all the streams with Jake have shown us, is meant to burn TITANX. That's its job. Its job is to create an incentive for you and I to want to cash in on that incentive. And in exchange for that, we have to burn our TITANX. And so right now, there's a lot of staked TITANX. And if we also go back to that dashboard and we go down to our staking dashboard, we can see that 3,500 days or 2888 is a very popular number. And it's the vast majority of stakes are going for that long. And that implies something interesting. That implies that a lot of people are planning on leveraging an opportunity in the future. It may not be Hyper, it may be something else that comes, but they're leveraging staking for the longest period, which acquires you the most amount of shares per dollar that you are staking in the pool. They're thinking of burning at some point, or they're just absolutely nuts and they're going to go for 10 years, which is awesome. Kudos to you. So what this means though is that because you have the majority of people that are staking for that long, there's a majority of people in the staking pool are probably thinking about burning. And what happens when you burn? Well, the supply is going to shrink like crazy. And what's important to understand about this, because we're not just talking about supply in general, because liquid supply and stake supply impact the system as a whole differently. So if we're going to go to our stats here, we can look at the staked TITANX. And right now is about 1.4 trillion. If the majority of this were to be burnt for Hyper, what do you think this is going to do? What happens here is when we are looking at the staking pool, and if we go to the rewards, let's do staking. We're going to do the max length. Like let's say you're staked max length, just because you're thinking about this opportunity too. But you want to play your cards right. So you're giving yourself maximum leverage in the staking pool, and you're giving yourself maximum leverage in terms of getting out of it at any time when you want to burn for Hyper or any of these other protocols that are coming in the future. So let's type in $1 billion, which is $6,000. And for $6,000, in the next payout, you're going to get $2,300. And at the moment, you're going to get $195 just from the next two payouts, which happen to land on the same day, which we're going to talk about in a moment. If though, what happens here is if the amount of TITANX in the pool, the staking pool, gets cut in half because of a burning, what does that do to the rewards in the staking pool? Think about that for a second. I'm going to ask it again. If 50% of the staking pool gets burned for Hyper, or for anything else, so 50% of the TITANX in the staking pool gets burned, what happens to the payouts? They go up by 100%. So that means if 50% of TITANX in the staking pool was to be burned today, your payout would double because your share of the pool would go up by 2, right? Think about it. If the price on any price chart goes down by 50%, it takes a doubling of price to get back up to that spot, right? If you cut where we are now, 5 zeros and a 6 in half, you get 5 zeros and a 3. Go back up, it's double. So you're going to get twice the amount of TITANX shares in the pool in terms of the relative size of your position, which is really interesting to think about. So this is a great comment, and it's very important to understand that as Hyper comes out, as other protocols come out, if you are in the staking pool for every 56 days, so basically day 56, day 112, day 168, and so on, you're going to get these bigger payouts and one thing that's interesting here to note is that we don't fully know when Hyper is going to come out. Like there's speculation end of January, end of February, but there's been no public announcements, and we're kind of just left up in the air by that. So what happens though, regardless of when it launches, is if Hyper launches, and the one thing we know about Hyper is that there's an 8-day waiting period if you want to burn your TITANX for Hyper to take advantage of whatever the opportunity is in terms of incentive. Within that 8-day period, if there is a stake payout, what do you think is going to happen? People are going to be torn. That's going to be a hard decision because if you have to wait 8 days to get your Hyper, but in the middle of that is going to be a staking payout, if everyone still goes, you could actually be up massive because people are going to have to make a decision. And if everyone goes, well, you could stay in that staking pool, reap the rewards, and then burn at a later date. And it's up, and you're still going to be up because you've got double the amount of payout from that cycle. So there's a ton of stuff to consider here when it comes to the future of TITANX. And if we even go further back to the stats, I want you to pay attention to 2 things here, okay? One is the number of days at the top right, which says day 50, okay? Right here. The other is the TITANX burn supply, which is already 57%. And we've had another 100 billion liquid come on the supply, as well as another 100 billion, staked over the last handful of days. And the buy and burn is still being able to gobble up a ton of TITANX for almost 4 trillion at this point. So this is just one factor. So you've got the buy and burn just with Titan that is gobbling up 56% of the supply. What happens when Hyper and Titan and all 6 metrics that they all have for burning TITANX and Hyper come into play? You're going to have an ultra competitive environment because staking Titan is easy right now because it doesn't take a ton of economic energy to get like 6, 7, 8, 9 figures of TITANX, which as you were seeing in the calculator, if we go here and we just type in a billion, which is $6,000, right? And right now, like to acquire this is not too difficult with mining right now when you're putting in a handful of miners or a couple miners and you stake long enough, depending on what that's going to be for you. And we can actually do that in a second here. But when it's difficult to get a billion, because on day 84, the amount of TITANX goes down by 25% that you can mine for the same amount, actually for more than original cost of ETH. So you get less and it costs way more by probably 30% by day 84. And that continues to go down and down and down. So it's going to get very difficult as time goes on to acquire large amounts of TITANX to get into the staking pool. So it's important to understand this and how now we are in one situation because of hyperinflation and just the launch in general. But this will go off and this will change completely in the coming months, and maybe it'll change drastically after August of next year, because we know there's a big supply shock coming out. There's trillions and trillions coming out. So maybe it takes until after that for the staking pool to really start to see a hit competitively. But I love this comment, and I know I just went and did an entire TED talk on that, but I really hope that this is starting to hit home of the importance of understanding the staking pool. You don't have to participate, but it's important to understand, so that way when you are strategizing, you're able to actually go in and make moves with foresight and not just in the moment here, right? There's a lot that goes into this.
Thank you so much for watching this clip. If you enjoyed it and you want to watch the whole stream, there is a link to the full stream in the description, as well as all the links to any guests that you're seeing in this stream as well. If you want coaching from me directly, you can go to the links in the description for either a 30-minute or 1-hour call. I also have a book on Amazon that you can get in either paperback, hard copy, or Kindle, which the Kindle is absolutely free, as well as a free version of the book on my website in PDF format. So thank you again for watching this clip. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you again very soon in the next one. Peace.